You're watching Cover to Cover, our guide to the Sikh and Punjabi books that you need to read. This week we're introducing Bullying of Sikh American Children Through the Eyes of a Sikh American High School Student by Karanveer Singh Pannu. The edition that we're looking at is softbound and was self-published by the author in 2015. Karanveer Singh Pannu is a high school student, or at least he was when he was working on publishing this book. He will have graduated some time ago now. As you can imagine from the lengthy title of the book, including that subtitle, this work is all about the experiences of young Sikhs in the United States of America and how they deal with looking different, being different, having different beliefs and everything else in between. But it's all done through the eyes of a young person. Now, I don't know Karanveer Singh Pannu, and beyond reading this book and looking up a few things online about him over the years, I have no relationship with him or no input to give about what his goals in life are or anything else. But just from reading this book, you can tell he's somebody who really likes to take action, is a real go-getter in the American sense. Hence why he was able to publish a book like this. And it is replete with some quite helpful and knowledgeable information that can help not only parents but also young people in America who are trying to deal with growing up Sikh in an environment that sometimes can be hostile towards them. Across some 240 pages, Bullying of Sikh American Children really manages to pack a lot in. And I'm not just talking about the subject matter, but the amount of different appendices, acknowledgements. There's even testimonials at the front of the book, which is very, very rare to see. There's so much to take in, and it is all quite helpful. It's also indicative of the fact that this is a self-published work. The book starts with those testimonials that I mentioned, and also a letter from the then President of the United States, Barack Obama. There is a brief dedication, but then we have acknowledgements and a preface, both by the author, followed by an introduction of the author. That should be introduction to the author. That comes from a mentor of his, followed by an introduction to the book. And then we have across 11 different chapters, supplemented by a conclusion, the entirety of the book. Closing up, we have a bibliography, a glossary, 2 appendices and an index. But let's take a look at those chapters. Some of them are very brief, and the contents page quite handily breaks down each chapter into sub-chapters. In fact, we also have sub-chapters in some of these areas. So we have challenges of bullying for Sikh children, the Sikh faith, the Sikh turban, Sikhs in America. It's kind of the backdrop context to who these people are that are being bullied and what this book is really all about. We then have a few chapters on how this is relevant in modern day America. So there's a chapter on Christianity, Judaism, Eurocentrism and the blind spot, post 9/11, adult to children trickle-down effect of bias, media portrayal of sex, and then we have what I think are the most interesting parts of this entire book, and fortunately more than half of it in total: current bullying statistics for Sikh American children, a chapter on psychological trauma, interviews with mental health professionals, an immense chapter on strategies for families, which has a huge number of suggestions on what solutions are out there, and then a closing chapter on strategies for educators, which does the same except for that particular group of people, followed by the briefest of conclusions. Throughout this work, you have to say that you're impressed with Karanveer Singh Pannu at such a tender age being able to write so frankly and being so coherent and clear with the views that he wishes to espouse and the solutions he wishes to proffer to not only the young Sikh children and their families who are dealing with these circumstances in America, but also to educators and parents of other children and even communities that are just interested about who their Sikh neighbours are. That being said, this book is the kind of book that will be really helpful to those people who don't have a strong grasp of what it means to be Sikh, who are not engaged in any full-time Gurmat course of practice, unofficial or official, so whether it's at a Khalsa school or Gurdwara, or whether it's at home just with family or friends. This book is for those people who are living almost remotely or who are living vicariously as Sikhs, who don't have much to lean on. The amount of data analysis in here is not going to be immense by academic standards, but for the layman reader is just enough for you to see that there is a problem here. May be arguable about how big a problem, but there is a problem to be tackled here, and the Sikh community itself needs to be looking for answers to those problems. And in writing this book, Karanveer Singh Pannu should be commended because he has started a conversation on what those solutions should look like. All that being said, what this book really depicts is how a high school student views the issue of bullying, and bullying of a minority group at that. The fact that he is a Sikh and that this is a Sikh community and Sikh children that are being targeted is a circumstance really. And that is what makes this a great read for anyone who is interested in parenting studies or in how society deals with young people, and of course this major issue of bullying and the mental health issues it creates for young people. It is a very US-centric book. However, there will be parallels that can be drawn to other territories, particularly in North America. That's our thoughts on this book, but we want to know your thoughts. So please leave us a comment below sharing your notions on bullying of Sikh American children through the eyes of a Sikh American high school student by Karanveer Singh Pannu. Make sure you've subscribed to the Naujawana YouTube channel so that we see you here again next time on Cover to Cover, our guide to the Sikh and Punjabi books that you need to read.